In the modern day of comic book movies, one question that is seemingly on everybody's mind is this project woke? And for whatever reason, this seems to be the most talked about subject when it comes to these movies. And with the recent failures of the MCU, the question has turned into, are these projects failing because they're woke? The simple answer is no. No, they're not. Comic books have been what is considered to be woke for decades. I mean, literally since their conception. And today, we're going to talk about it. Creating beacons of hope that will defend real justice no matter who you are, what you look like, or what you believe is quite literally the foundation of many comic book storylines. These stories have always been woke, and if you need proof, here's the literal definition of the word. Aware and actively attentive to important societal facts and issues, especially issues of race and social justice. Wow, that sounds like every comic book ever fucking made. But regardless of this fact, fans of these movies and comics will always say that wokeness is what's killing these movies, what's making them fail. And it's because in the last couple of decades, conservatism has made wokeness seem like something that should be feared or disregarded. They have effectively demonized the word. And so when any of this appears in a comic book film, which of course it will because it's a comic book movie, conservatives love to go on a tirade saying this is why the movie failed, or this is going to ruin the film industry, or any other notion that they want to put forward. They speak the loudest about it. Attributing a film's failure to these basic reflections of modern-day society is asinine. It only serves to further the divide that's between us. And the real reason why these films are failing is because of poor writing, lack of direction, and false wokeness, which we'll get to in a little bit. I think the biggest example of a woke Marvel movie that has failed is probably Captain Marvel. It's a movie I've talked about a lot on this channel, and it's something I really want to dive into further today. I do think that this is one of the weaker projects in the Marvel lineup, but is that because there's a woman in the front seat? No, not at all. Now, as a white man, I can't speak to whether or not these movies have proper representation, but what I can talk about is the fundamentals of the movie. Is the storytelling there? What are the writing beats like? How is the acting? Things like that. When you look at something like Captain Marvel, it's just fundamentally not as good as something like Black Panther. But that doesn't mean you should write the movie off entirely. You see, Captain Marvel actually succeeds at giving us a good story. It was just released at a time where Endgame was about to happen and everyone wanted to see that, not Captain Marvel. And when you watch the movie now, it's leagues better than most of the things we're getting today. And despite that fact, a lot of people on this platform still call this movie out to this day for having a female lead and call it a failure because of it, when that's just simply not the case. It's just, when you sit here in front of your camera and you're telling your audience this movie is bad because it has a woman in it, all you're doing is spreading hate. All you're doing is spreading misogyny for no reason. If you want to look at me and tell me that you have genuine critiques of the film, I'm glad to hear them. I think that criticism is always welcome no matter who's in the lead role of a film. And you cannot sit here and tell me that Captain Marvel is a bad movie because she's a woman. That doesn't make any sense. I'm sick and tired of this narrative that's being pushed. Women deserve representation. Minorities deserve representation. Everybody deserves representation. And if you don't like that, then I have some news for you. This isn't the industry for you. Now, something I actually do find pretty interesting is that a lot of these individuals only go to the surface level when they're critiquing these movies. And that's to be expected. I mean, they're harping on a movie for having a black Captain America, or having a woman in power, or having any kind of progressive notion. So it makes sense that they wouldn't bother to look deeper than the surface, deeper than the cover. But whenever you actually do, if you look under the hood of most of these Marvel movies and the Disney company as a whole, they do not have progressive ideals. I feel like these people always say that Disney is pushing this woke narrative or this woke objective, and that's just not the case. Disney is actively working against these things. But they put on this face of false wokeness because they know that's what gets them money. They'll say, oh, we love gay people, here's the pride flag, here's Mickey and the gang and the pride colors, but behind the scenes, they're wanting gay scenes to be cut. They want certain kisses to not be shown. In the Marvels, for example, when Valkyrie and Carol meet, she gives her a kiss on the cheek, when that was definitely meant to be something more. They cut these scenes so they can sell to distributors like China and make more money overseas. It's baffling to me how these people think that Disney is some progressive company when they aren't. They never have been and they never will be. And the more that people come online and say, oh, Disney's too progressive, they're too woke, the more fuel Disney has to put on this facade. They can then point to these people and go, see, we are this, we are woke, we are progressive, because they're saying that we are too much of it. And talking about Captain America Brave New World, a lot of these people have been making videos about it, and they are abhorrent. When I was trying to scroll through these channels and get research for this video, I was flabbergasted. I was appalled. The way that they're talking about Sam Wilson and Captain America as a whole is just disgusting. In the titles, they're like, oh, Disney's DEI is failing. Disney's DEI finally failed, and I'm so happy this movie is, flopped because Captain America wasn't even in the movie. Like, dude, how can you... I genuinely don't understand how you can watch these films about people who will do anything for the greater good, no matter who you are, no matter what you look like, no matter who you love, no matter who you believe in, and still look at these films and say, no, that's not what they should stand for. I just don't get it. That's hate. That is pure hatred in your heart. And it's sad. It truly is. It's super sad to see. I have a lot of anxiety when it comes to making these videos because so many white men before me have come to this platform and spewed nothing but egregious amounts of hate for these movies. And an egregious amount of lies regarding minorities, women, queer individuals, and everything in between. And so I think whenever it came to making this video, my biggest purpose with this is to tell everyone my views on this wokeness. I want people to know that whenever you subscribe to me, whenever you're a part of my community, I will not stand for hatred in this channel. I won't. Because I want to create a safe community for people who love these films, no matter what they look like, no matter what they believe in, no matter who they love, no matter anything. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what you love. I love that you're here. Hate has no place anywhere. But I digress. I'm going to talk more about this later. This idea that wokeness is killing the comic book industry has started to bleed into the minds of actors portraying characters. Recently, with the release of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Hudson Thames took to Twitter, and he said he was worried that the show is going to be annoying and woke. When I read this quote, I was dumbfounded, because you're playing Spider-Man. His whole thing is anyone can wear the mask, no matter who you are.
You know one of the greatest things about Spider-Man's outfit, his costume?
What?
He is completely covered. So any kid could imagine he's Spider-Man because no color of the skin shows. He could be black under that. He could be red. He could be yellow. He could belong to any race. And that wasn't done purposely. It was done accidentally. But I think it was the best thing we did, making him so that he could be anybody under that costume.
And ever since this interview, he has stayed silent. It got to the point where the showrunner, Jeff Trammell, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, had to come out and apologize on Hudson's behalf because he stayed silent this entire time. And well, last week the show ended, and I finished it all. And I can confidently say, this is the most woke Spider-Man show that has ever been made, and it is also easily the best piece of Spider-Man media we have ever gotten. It makes changes to the characters that feel natural. It's like they should have been this way the entire time. It sets the world of Spider-Man in the modern era, and it feels so right. And I'm not the only one loving this show. Everyone's enjoying it. They're loving how inclusive this show is. They're loving these changes and these characters and the representation presented in the show. So it begs the question, why did Hudson Thames even feel the need to say anything? And that's a question we might not have answered. And honestly, that's a real shame, because someone as cowardly as Hudson Thames should not be voicing this character. And that's because with great power comes great responsibility. Because when you're portraying a character of this caliber, it's your responsibility to show these fans some respect. At the very least. I mean, for fuck's sake, you're literally working in an industry that creates hopes and dreams. And you're gonna tear them down with a hate comment. And as meaningless as his comment may seem, it still invalidates everything that is considered woke. You could say, oh, he just doesn't want the show to be preachy. In what way? In what way? He doesn't want the show to tell kids that you should treat people with respect and dignity no matter what they look like or who they are. You don't want the Spider-Man show to tell your kids that it's okay to be who you are, no matter who you are. Oh, well, he just doesn't want the show to be like forced diversity. He doesn't want any forced diversity in the show. Oh, okay, I got it. So he doesn't want proper representation in a show about a character who can be anybody under a mask. That makes total sense. No matter how you spin this comment, it only breeds hate. And Hudson Thames should be ashamed of himself, as should anybody who is spewing this hurtful narrative. Hate is not something you are born with, it is something you are taught. And if you grew up with these stories, I promise you, you were never taught hate. And if you're watching this and you share these ideals, and this entire time throughout my video, you've thought to yourself, no, he's wrong because it is about that he's a black guy and it is because she's a woman. Please, I please urge you, inform yourself. You don't have to hold on to this hate in your heart. You don't. It doesn't make you weaker. It doesn't make you lesser to love your fellow individual. It makes you stronger. Love is an emotion that is a lot harder to feel than hate. Hate is easy. It's easy to hate things. It's much, much harder to show love and compassion for people, especially for people who you may not understand. But going that extra mile, allowing yourself to learn more about these communities and more about these groups, that's something that these superheroes who you admire and look up to would want you to do. Because at the end of the day, that's all these stories are trying to teach. Now, not every video is going to be this heavy. If you watch some of my other videos, they're not this heavy. If you're new here, please subscribe. But this is something that's been really bothering me for a long time. I want to create a community that fosters love with its members. I want people to feel safe whenever they click on a video to my channel. I want them to know that they are seen and they are heard and their opinions are respected. But I won't tolerate hate, as I said before. I just won't. And that's just not something I want in my channel. It's not something I want in my community. And so if you're new here and you're watching this video and you agree with anything that I said, I would really appreciate you subscribing because I want to grow this community. Leave a comment down below. Like this video, share it. It would mean the world to me. This video came out a little late because I wanted to make sure it was right. And I think it is right. And if you want to know what's really making these Marvel movies fail, please consider checking out my Is Marvel Purposely Failing video. I go in depth about how there's a lack of direction, there's writing issues, resources aren't properly given, things like that. If you take anything away from this video, please take away that hate is not the answer. It will never be the answer. The only answer is love, and that is the best superpower any of us have.